Hi, I'm Xavier and this is Matteo, and today we'll be giving you a webcast about indifference curves. More specifically, we'll be talking about perfect and imperfect substitutes and complement goods. So in this first part of the webcast, we'll be giving the definitions. As I give the definitions, Matteo will be interactively drawing the graphs. The first definition we're going to look at is indifference curves. Indifference curves are lines in a coordinate system for which each of its points express a particular combination of a number of goods or bundles of goods that the consumer is indifferent to consume. This is, the consumer will have no preference between two bundles located in the same indifference curve, since they all provide the same degree of utility. The indifference curves, as we move away from the origin of coordinates, imply higher consumption and therefore increasing levels of utility. Next, we'll be talking about normal goods and inferior goods. Normal goods are any goods for which the demand increases when income increases and falls when income decreases but the price remains the same. Now, as opposed to normal goods, we have inferior goods. Inferior goods are any goods whose demand declines when income rises. In other words, demands of inferior goods are inversely related to the income of the customer. The next definition we're going to look at are perfect substitutes. Now, perfect substitutes are when two goods X and Y can be substituted to one another with no consequence, while still satisfying the utility. Now, indeed, a consumer's preferences are defined by his or her utility function. The next definition are imperfect substitutes. An example of such a product is the soft drink. As the price of Coca-Cola rises, consumers would be expected to substitute to Pepsi. However, many consumers prefer one brand of soft drink over the other. Consumers who prefer Coke to Pepsi, for example, will not trade between them in a one-to-one fashion. Rather, a consumer who would be willing to give relatively large amounts of Pepsi in exchange for relatively small amounts of Coke, thus making them imperfect substitutes. The next definition we're going to look at are perfect complements. Now, complement goods are goods that have a negative cross elasticity of demand. In other words, the demand for a good will increase when a good's price decreases. Now, an example of perfect complements would be tea and sugar. Many people drink tea with sugar and consider these two goods to go together, thus making them perfect complements. Now, in this section of the webcast, we're going to apply the definitions that we've just learned. Now, we've come up with a simple exercise that we're going to solve and help you solve. So, Matteo enjoys eating. He spends all his income on hot dogs, buns and sausages. He buys one bun for every sausage. Question A. Graph Matteo's indifference curves for hot dogs and buns. Question B. Draw his indifference curves, assuming that he loves sausages so much that he now consumes 2 for every bun. Now, if we look at the first graph, Matteo will draw the indifference curve. We can clearly see that, seeing as Matteo eats 1 bun for every sausage, when he eats 4 buns, he will eat 4 sausages, and etc. 8 buns, 8 sausages, 12 buns, 12 sausages, and so forth.
And we can see that it's a perfect complement.
Now, if we look at the second graph we have here, Matteo will draw this graph in order to answer the second question. Now, Matteo is now consuming 2 sausages for every bun. So the way the graph changes is just that for every 2 buns, Matteo will consume 4 sausages. For every 4 buns, Matteo will consume 8 sausages, and so forth and so forth.
Thank you.
In this section of the webcast, we've created 2 multiple choice questions that we will answer with you. Now, the first question is, if the price of a good increases. then A, the demand of a complementary good will increase, B, the demand for the good will increase, C, the demand for substitute goods will increase, and D, the demand for the good will decrease. Now, as you can see, the answer is clearly C. Now, let me explain why. Let's take tea and coffee, for example. If the price of tea increases and the two goods are substitutes, then the demand for coffee will increase as more people will be inclined to drink coffee as it is cheaper. Now, let's take a look at the second question. If consumer income declines, then the demand for A, normal goods will increase, B, inferior goods will increase, C, substitute goods will increase, and D, complementary good will increase. Now, here the answer is clearly B, as the less money you have to spend, the more you will have to settle for cheaper inferior goods. Hence B, inferior goods will increase when income declines. Thank you very much for listening to our webcast, and we hope we've helped to elaborate on the indifference curves and complementary and substitute goods. Matteo and Xavier say goodbye.